Teamwork isn't just nice to have in business, it's the undisputed competitive advantage. When your team members work as a unified force, your whole operation benefits through higher productivity, thriving creativity, and unstoppable momentum. Welcome to the Impactful Teamwork Podcast, where we share with you strategies and tactics to help you develop game-changing teams so that you and your business can make a real difference in the world. Welcome back to Impactful Teamwork, the podcast, where every Tuesday I share with you some of my latest thoughts and ideas about how to create high-performance teams and create cohesion and collaboration and connectedness in the workplace. So my name's Julia Felton. I'm so delighted to be with you here again today. And today's podcast has been inspired by a couple of things that have been happening this week in my business. And what I really want to share with you today is what I want to call the power of TLC to help you and your team emerge stronger. Because one of the things that I have recognized this week is the power of slowing down. And yesterday I run a Equine Facilitated Leadership Retreat for a group of leaders. And what was really incredible about this group of leaders was that when we sat in the classroom at the beginning of the day discussing where they were, what had been going on, everyone referred to the mad, manic summer they had been having, covering holiday, and how they had all been really overworked. And they were quite frenetic and distraught and just quite emotionally drained, and also really heady in their head space, really thinking about everything that was going on in the workplace. And that's a place that many of us live in, right? Many of us live in that place of going into our head and not listening to our intuition, because there's deadlines and we're just like, something needs to happen. Let's go now. Let's just get something done. And sometimes actually that is the worst approach to take, because what we can find is that we throw all this time and energy at getting something done, but we don't get the results we wanted because we didn't set the project up for success. So it was very interesting when I was with these business leaders yesterday, because we spent a lot of time talking about this topic of slowing down in order to speed up. And when they came to do the last exercise of the day, which was taking the horse on a leadership walk over some obstacles and challenges at liberty, so with no ropes, with no halters on, they really spent a lot of time planning this and thinking about what they wanted to do and how they were going to achieve that. And then rather than throwing energy at the chaos to try and get through this course in record time, they actually took a very different approach. They all really slowed down. As I said, they planned the route and what they were doing. And then even the way they approached the whole task, they approached it very calmly, and they kept their energy low. And as a result of that, and then being very synchronized and in harmony, my horse Toby went round the obstacle course without running off and really effortlessly completed it and looked like he really enjoyed it. And that's not something often we see. Often Toby, actually probably 9 times out of 10, will run away during the leadership walk with the clients, because their energy is very chaotic and they haven't slowed down to figure out what to do. And I love this quote from Lao Tzu, which is, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. So nature really understands the importance of slowing down in order to speed up. And physiologically, I think it's really important to slow down, because when we're in that really nearly stress state, that's when our sympathetic nervous system kicks in and we go into fight or flight. And that's a state that many people are living in on a day-to-day basis. But the problem is our bodies are only designed to live in this kind of state for a short period of time. Because when we're stressed, we become anxious, we have high levels of cortisol running through our body, high levels of adrenaline, and all of these impact our nervous system. Yet when we slow down, we release different chemicals, DHA, and that reduces the cortisol. And we get into a much more relaxed state of being. And in my opinion, this is a much more powerful state. And from here, we can make better decisions like my clients did this week. They get this better clarity of thinking. And it's also really important because it's only from this place of slowing down that we can really be able to connect with our team and accomplish great things. So what I want to share with you today is what I call the TLC model. So I'd invite you just to grab a pen and a piece of paper, as you might want to draw this as we're going through it. I'd like you to draw a triangle on your piece of paper. And at the top of it, I want you to write trust. And on the left-hand corner, connection. And on the right-hand corner, leadership. The TLC triad stands for trust, connection, and leadership. And in the middle, we have engagement. And I believe these are the three most important elements as leaders that we need to be able to access within our businesses. And I love this concept of TLC as being a triad, because a triad is one of the strongest structures in nature. So when we get trust, connection, and leadership all aligned, we're able to get high levels of engagement within our business. And I think we can probably all agree that businesses today need engagement levels that are higher than ever, because there's so much that we need to get done, and our team members are under such pressure to deliver results. We need to keep them really engaged. So let's just delve in individually to each of these pillars, the TLC pillars: trust, leadership, and connection. So Stephen Covey, in his amazing book, The Speed of Trust, describes trust as the biggest business commodity of the decade. Without trust, business and relationships falter. But trust is something of a bit of an elusive concept out there. And it's not something that we can always really tangibly describe. John Maxwell has an interesting definition and analogy of trust that I'd love to share with you. Whereas he talks, it's a bit like a piggy bank. And we store up pennies of trust with people. So every time we do something that we say we're going to do, we add a penny of trust to the pot. And every time we break trust, we actually smash the pot and we lose all of it. That's the way I like to think about trust. It's something that's slow to build, but quick to break. And we have trust throughout the world. Trust with organizations, trust with business, trust with our friends, trust in relationships. Trust exists everywhere. I have to build trusting relationships with my horses in order to work with them. And when I took a sabbatical from the corporate world, I actually spent some time living in Colorado at a horse rescue. And there I had to spend a huge amount of time building trust with these horses that had been abused. And one of the ways I did that was just literally going to go and sit with them with no pressure, no expectation, but just hanging out with them. And in the workplace, this is the way that we build trust, is by spending time and building relationships with people. Because let's face it, business is conducted through relationships, and effective relationships are built on trust. So we definitely need to have trust in order to create these relationships. And what was quite interesting to me was that during the COVID pandemic, trust in the government, ironically, actually went up. Still only about 38%, if I remember the number correctly. But that was the highest level of trust the government had had for a while, because whatever was going on with the pandemic, at points people felt at least the government, at least initially, was taking the right decision, as much as we didn't like it, and locking down the country and everything else that went with it. However, usually we find that people have higher levels of trust in business than in the government, and also in social media. And there is something called the Edelman Barometer that comes out every year that measures the level of trust. And if that's something you're really interested in, I would encourage you to go and look at that. And Dennis and Michelle Rena, they have written a really incredible book on trust. And they talk about when we lose trust, it's like a betrayal because we'd implicitly believe the other person was going to give us trust and then we lose it. And what we must remember is that trust exists at many levels. And the first level is trust always starts with ourselves. So that's what Stephen Covey refers to as the first wave of trust, is self-trust. We've actually got to believe in ourselves in order that we can trust other people and in order to grow trust within the organization. So actually, trust is the commodity in business that builds the bridge between business's needs for results and our human need for connection. And right now, and I've seen this really over the last few years, but it becomes more and more prevalent every day, there is a massive need for human connection. We're all starting to talk about the human elements of work, and more companies are recognizing that our people and human connection are the things that drive the business. And if we don't have human connection, then nothing else is possible. So we have trust. We need to build human connection. But what really is connection? And Brené Brown has a great definition of this. She defines it as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, and when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. Wow, really powerful. So people need relationships. We all want to be seen and heard. And in fact, as a leader, and even just as a great teammate, the biggest gift we can give anyone else is the gift of time and really listening and paying attention to what a colleague or a friend or a family member is saying to us. Really stopping and listening and paying attention to them. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And that's so we can stop and listen and really pay attention and be present to that person. And that's what builds the connection. That's what builds the relationship. When your colleagues feel heard and valued, then they are going to go the extra mile for you. And of course, we live now more and more in a virtual world. And so connection with team members actually is more challenging than perhaps it's ever been. And what I'm really observing is the need that we need to consciously think about how we connect with people within our team. The good old water cooler talk where we used to just stop by and connect with somebody and check in with them while we were making a cup of coffee or getting our lunch, all of that now has disappeared. And I know that some companies are obviously getting back into the workplace on selected days of the week. And I think that's amazing and really helpful. But for other people, there are still teams that I work with where team members have never, ever met each other in person. So that means that we have to, when we connect virtually, spend some time doing that good old water cooler talk, really checking in, finding out how our team members are and really getting to know them. Because human connection is built when leaders display empathy and high degrees of emotional intelligence. So we really want to know that as a leader, we're cared for as a team member. We want to know that we are valued and supported and that people recognize the contribution that we're making. So that is connection, such an important part of building a team. And yet the part that, for me, gets the least attention and yet can make the biggest difference to business. And this is a case of slowing down to speed up. We often think that building relationships in the workplace can be a waste of time, going out and having a cup of coffee virtually or in person with somebody. And yet, this is the glue that transforms a business and creates a high-performing team. Because when we know that our team members have our back and they're trusting and supporting us, then that can make all the difference to the performance of the team. And for me, that makes the difference between a high-performing team and a poor-performing team, the level of relationships that exist within the team. Patrick Lencioni, in his book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, the key fundamental driver of poor performance or a dysfunctioning team is a lack of trust. And I'll just share with you the exercise that he suggests that people do. And I've done this in the past, and it's super, super powerful. Is invite every single person on the team to share with their colleagues a time of vulnerability, time when things didn't quite go to plan, or something that's happened to them. And a colleague of mine ran this exercise with a team. And within the team, there were two particular gentlemen who were really at odds. They just didn't get on at all. And that was a real source of discomfort within the team. Anyway, she managed to create the psychological safety that the team all felt safe enough to share something and be very vulnerable. And during this exercise, one of the gentlemen shared that he had been adopted while he was a child. Then would you believe it? The other gentleman then shared he had a similar situation, that he was also adopted. Now these two gentlemen had some shared and common interest and experience that they had been through together, and it massively changed the dynamic of their relationship as they began to really understand each other on a completely different level. And no, they didn't become best friends afterwards, but they had a much better empathy and understanding about what was driving each other and why they were as they were. And that massively improved relationships and the dynamics within the team. So that's one way that you can help build connection within your team, is be really vulnerable and share stories about where you've got to nowadays and how you've got there. And then the L is for leadership. And I just wanted to share with you today, very quickly, a simple model of leadership that I use that's inspired by the herd. And we call it 3 positions of leadership. Because in a herd of horses, at the front of the herd, you have the lead mare. And her role is to set the direction and decide where the herd is going. And at the back of the herd, you have a lead stallion whose job is to provide the energy and the momentum to get the herd moving. And then you have in the middle the herd, and we call that position of leadership leading from the middle or leading from the side. So there's 3 different ways within the horse herd you can lead. The interesting thing is that within a horse herd, this leadership is based on role, not rank. So if somebody who's leading from the middle sees the danger coming, they will step into the front and show the herd the path to safety. So when you're leading from the front, this is a position of leadership you want to use at a time of emergency, when you need everyone to follow you and it's non-negotiable. This is where we need to go, and we need to go now. It's a powerful position of leadership, and one that many of my clients think that it's the only way to lead. Many people think that you can only lead from the front. However, my invitation to you today is to think about, could you lead from behind? How could you stand behind everything that was going on, let everything unravel around you, and still get amazing results? So in the herd, the stallion is at the back, and this is exactly his role. He can see everything from the back, exactly what is going on, which the leader at the front can't see. And from that back, he can help course correct the business. He can help bring back team members that might be thinking about getting siloed. He can bring them back into the herd, into the team, and keep everything on track. So where leading from the front is slightly a more pull type leadership, leading from the back is a push type leadership. From a leader's perspective, and my clients experienced this just yesterday, some of them said, I don't feel like I'm doing anything at the back. And that's the art actually of great leadership. We should be orchestrating our team members to do the work, and we are just guiding and influencing what happens. We're not running around frantically trying to do the work. We are guiding and making sure that everyone's doing what they're meant to be doing. And the absolute harmony is when you've got somebody leading from the front with somebody leading from behind, and you share that leadership together. Because if you just have somebody leading from behind, but nobody has any idea what direction you're going in, then the team may well end up delivering a project in a way that you didn't want, or the business might start moving in a way you didn't want. So if you're going to lead and think about how do I lead the business from a position 3, then you need to have a very clear vision and strategy about how you're going to get there. It's a super empowering position to lead from position 3 because you give your team members, aka the herd in front of you, the opportunity to get to your vision, your destination, in whatever way they feel fit. Now, the challenge is that might not be the way that you wanted to get there, but it doesn't mean that it's not a great way. In fact, it might be a better way than the way you were imagining to get there. In the middle, we have leading from the middle, leading from the side. And this is pretty much like the heart of leadership. This is where we are really connecting with our team members and finding out what's going on and nurturing and supporting people. And from this position, we can then step into leading from the front or leading from behind. When we think about the horse herd, this whole concept of TLC totally pervades for them. They absolutely have to trust that everyone else in the herd is looking out for their safety. And I've shared previously that herds of horses, they're prey animals. So their biggest fear is where the mountain lion is. So as a team member, everyone has to be on the same page in knowing that our objective is to stay alive. And we do that by knowing where all the danger is. And in fact, any team member who isn't paying attention to where the danger is coming is often evicted from the herd for a period of time to learn the lesson. Because if you're a lone horse, aka a silo out by yourself, unless you can rally other troops around you, being out there by yourself is very lonely and very dangerous, and you're going to want to come back into the herd. So that's how the horse herd teach other horses to pay attention and be part of the herd so that everyone collectively contributes to the leadership. And as a result of that, everyone is collectively engaged within the horse herd. So within a team, what might that look like? And the way I see that is we want our team members, the ones leading from the middle, to really be paying attention to the environment and what's going on around us. They're the ones that are more likely to see if a competitor brings in a new product or one of our customers is thinking about leaving us. They're the ones really in touch with what's going on in the day-to-day operations. And what we want them to do is to take that information and then share it and help us make better decisions from that place. So this is how the positions of shared leadership work, but they're only going to work if we have that trust and connection, aka that psychological safety in place where people feel that they can actually share that information. And when we do, then we get these high levels of engagement and empowerment. We get teams that are very energized and very focused and that make a massive difference. We create teams that people want to be part of, that you're proud to be part of. And if you're evicted from the team for whatever reason, people feel discombobulated and upset. They want to be part of it. So my invitation for you today is to think about, how can you develop TLC within your team? What levels of trust do you have within the team? What levels of connection do you have with the team? What's your leadership like? Are you role modeling effective leadership? Are you leading from position 1 at the front? Are you leading from position 3 from the back? Or are you leading from the middle? And in fact, many leaders have to do a combination of these leadership roles at different times. But who's sharing the leadership with you? Because when we're in a team, it is all about shared and collective responsibility and accountability. So we want to get everyone on the same page, so that's happening. I will share with you in the show notes some diagrams of the positions of leadership so you can see that. And it's such a fascinating topic that I will be dedicating a whole episode later on to these 3 different positions of leadership and how you can use them within a team. But for today, I just wanted to share with you the model, the TLC of leadership, how that creates engagement by building trust, leadership capacity, and connection. I really hope that you found some really useful nuggets in there for you to take away and apply within your own teams. And as always, I love to hear from you about what you put into place and the results that you've had by implementing this philosophy within your business. So I hope you have an amazing week, and until next week, goodbye. Thanks for listening to the Impactful Teamwork Podcast. Please stay tuned for future episodes and do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on your favorite platform. Recommendations are essential for attracting new listeners. Please follow us on social media at Julia Felton and at Business Horsepower. And if there are any topics you'd like us to cover on future episodes, please do let me know. Remember, you and your team are always making an impact. What impact will you make today?